Hey, welcome to Vance Tried It. Today, we're going to make some chili cheese dip. Now, here's the thing. In order to have chili cheese dip, what's the first thing you need? You need some chili. And we don't want to use some canned store-bought chili because that isn't going to do it justice. So we're going to make what I call quick chili. Now, if I was inviting you over to my house to have some chili, this is not the chili I would make. But if you just come home and you don't have 3-4 hours to let the chili stew on the stove or set in the crock pot, and maybe you want some chili dogs or maybe you want some chili cheese dip, then this is a better alternative. It's going to take about 25 minutes to make this chili. Is it as good as the chili that I would make if I was just making chili? No. But it is better than that store-bought stuff, so that's what we're going to make today. We're going to start off by just taking some olive oil, and we're going to just put some in our Dutch oven. Oh, I don't know, 1/4 cup or so. Didn't measure it, just poured some in there. Now, what I have here is 1 onion, and this is a Vidalia onion, which is pretty much what I always use just because they're sweeter. And I like that good flavor. And then this, believe it or not, is 1 jalapeno because at the store today, the jalapenos were huge, like the size of serrano peppers. Now I know what you're probably thinking. Are you sure you didn't get a serrano pepper? No. This is definitely a jalapeno pepper, but it's huge. This is probably like 2 or 3 of what would be like what I would consider a normal size jalapeno. But you know me, I like my food spicy, so it's not going to be a problem for me. Now what we're wanting to do is we're just wanting to sweat these onions and cook this jalapeno just a little bit. And so we have medium-high heat, and then we're going to just try and get these onions to where they're just a little bit translucent. They start to change color, start to become clear, if you will. And then what that's going to do is that's going to release the oils inside of that onion, and it takes it from being a little bit bitter to really sweet. And so this is really kind of a key first step because I pretty much don't ever use just straight raw onions in pretty much anything. Maybe you like that kind of bitter taste that onions normally have, but if you just put it in the liquid, it's going to maintain that bitterness versus if you sweat them off like this, it will release those oils, just make them really sweet. A lot more flavorful. And so that's pretty much what I will always do. And it doesn't take long. They're already starting to become translucent. And they smell wonderful in there. Oh, that combination of the onion smell and that jalapeno smell together, that is marvelous. And so they're really kind of where we want them. And now we're just going to add to this 1 pound of ground beef. So, this is a pretty lean ground beef I'm using here, just because I don't really need all the fat in here, because I'm going to be draining it off anyway, and especially since I'm cooking it right in with the onions and the jalapeno, the more I drain it, the more I'm going to lose some of that goodness that's in here, some of the oils. And if I'm lucky, I won't have to drain it hardly at all, maybe not any at all. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and brown this meat, and then I'll get back to you when I have it all browned up and we're ready to move on to the next step of our quick chili. Okay, so we are pretty much all browned up now, and I was actually able to, because I have a 93% lean hamburger, I was able to just basically spoon out some of the fat, and then I don't have to actually drain it and worry about losing some of the goodness in there. And also remember that because this is going into a soup, a chili, you don't have to brown it quite like you would if you're going to be making, say, taco meat or sloppy joes or something like that, because this is going to continue to cook. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and take my spices and put in here. What I have is 2.5 tablespoons of chili powder. I have 1 tablespoon of Italian seasoning. I have 1/2 tablespoon of onion powder, 1/2 tablespoon of garlic powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of cumin. I'm going to put that all in there, and I'm going to get this all stirred up in here really well. And I want to do this before I put any of the wet ingredients in here, because I want to, just like with the onions, I wanted to release the oils in there. All of these spices have oils in them. And so if you put it in to the dry mix and just cook it off just a little bit, you're going to start to release those oils. And in fact, you're going to really start to be able to smell the difference. It's just going to smell so different once those oils start to release and become really aromatic. And it's going to combine in with all the rest of those dry ingredients, the meat and the veggies in there. And that's what we want to do there. So go ahead and put the spices in for a little bit. It doesn't have to be a super long time. We're pretty much ready right now. And so what we're going to do now is I have 14.5 ounce, I guess, cans of kidney beans. So we'll put that in there and just give that a nice little mix. Now, if you're from Texas, skip the beans, because I know you don't eat beans in chili, but me and my house, we like the beans in the chili. And then I'm going to have here some diced tomatoes. Now I got the fire roasted just to add a little bit more flavor. This is 4 14.5 ounce cans of fire roasted tomatoes. And then to that, I'm going to add some salt. So salt is really important, and there's a lot in here, so don't be afraid of the salt. Because, look, realistically, it's not going to be salty. If you properly season it, it's not going to be salty necessarily, but what salt does is it really enhances all the other flavors. You have to put a lot of salt in there, something like this, to make it taste salty. But that little bit of salt in there, that was probably a tablespoon of salt, probably. And then that's just going to really bring out all the other flavors, because that's what salt really does. And then I have here 1 cup of beef broth. Now, if you like a chunky chili, then you can skip the beef broth. But me, I like mine a little bit more soupy. And I'm just going to get all this mixed in here really well. And now, I'm just going to let the magic happen right here. Because I'm going to just cover this up. I'm going to leave it on the medium low. And I'm just going to let it simmer for about 15 minutes. And then this is going to be done. Step 1 of making chili cheese dip. So I'll see you in about 15 minutes. Okay, we're back. It's been about 15-20 minutes as this has been simmering. Not as long as if I was making it just to make chili. But it should be long enough for our purposes here. So let's just, first off, taste this chili and see what it's like. I mean, look, like I said, this is not the chili that I would serve you if I was making chili and having you just come over. But if I came over to your house and you served me this chili, I wouldn't make fun of you. It's decent chili, and certainly for, 20, 25 minutes of effort, pretty good. So, now what we're going to do, let's see how hot these are. We're going to set this off to the side here. We're going to put a new pan out here because we're going to take, about 2.5 cups of this chili. Like this. Let's get a little bit more here. That should be about 2.5 cups of chili. Okay, to that, we're going to add 4 ounces of cream cheese. Let's just get this melting up in here. Now this cream cheese is going to make everything much creamier. Ergo, cream cheese. But we didn't use so much of it that it's going to have a heavy cream cheese flavor. So we're going to get some texture out of it, but not as much the flavor, because the cream cheese, we're not looking for that to be the star of this show. So that's pretty much melted up in here. Now we're going to take 8 ounces of shredded cheese. Now we shredded this ourselves because we don't want to use pre-shredded cheese. Remember, pre-shredded cheese has a coating on it that's going to keep it from really melting up really nice and making it into a sauce, which is kind of what we're wanting here. So this is Colby Jack, but you can use your favorite cheese, whatever that might be. And we're just going to continue to stir this until it is all completely melted down. I just still have my stove on a medium low here. And I'm wanting this to be, I don't even really want any streams of cheese in here. I want it to be completely melted down into a sauce. Okay? So, we are certainly getting there, just like this. You can see that just like that. A little bit of stream, not too much. And now, we're going to add our last ingredient. That is 1/4 cup of salsa. This is my own homemade salsa in here. So we're just going to give it a little extra flavor. You can use whatever salsa you want, however hot you decide you want it. Now, my homemade salsa typically tends to be pretty spicy. And as a matter of fact, a fella gave my wife some peppers that he grew in his garden. So I made some salsa with it, and I gave her a cup of it to take to him as a thank you. And he was telling her, he said, I put my chip in there a little bit, and I tasted it, and I said, oh, that's pretty good salsa. So then I poked my chip in there, and I got a big old scoop of it out, and all of a sudden, my mouth was on fire. And so, yeah, it tends to be a little bit spicy. That's the way I like it. So, this is our cheese dip. I'll just give you a little look-see at it, so you can kind of see what it looks like. Looks just kind of like that. This is a little bit runnier than I probably would like it. And so, look, the solution to that is we just continue to cook it off. Okay? The other thing is, when this cools off, if you get it, you don't want it too solidified when it's hot, because when this starts to cool off, if you do that, it's going to be super congealed. But I might cook it off just a little bit more, but right now, what I want to see is what does it taste like. So we're going to just take one of these chips right here. We're going to get some bean and some meat and some tomato. We're going to find something with all the goodness in it. And we're going to see what this tastes like as a chili cheese dip. Let me just get something to keep this from dripping on myself here. Oh, that's very good. I mean, it has all the taste of the chili, has the cheesiness in there. I mean, this is a really good dip. I think probably it could stand to cook down a little bit, which is probably what I'll do. Just cook it down a little bit. That's not really an issue. And that's really kind of what we want. You're better off having it a little bit too runny at the beginning so that you can kind of cook it down a little bit and just let some of that water, the juice evaporate off. And it's going to make everything just hold together better. It's also going to really enhance those flavors and really concentrate the flavors in there. But if you're looking for a chili cheese dip, maybe you're going to have people over for the game. Maybe you're going to be taking something to a potluck at work or at church, and you think a good chili cheese dip would hit the spot. Hey, I tried it, and you should too.